Hi, and welcome to Tuesday Talks at 3, a platform where women help one another on their journey in the wheel of life. My name is Lucy Macridis, and I'm the founder and the owner of LMC Consultancy. I am an expert in helping women get unstuck and onto their true potential through unlocking their limiting beliefs. I'm a certified life coach, I'm a mentor, and I'm a certified online facilitator. Thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast here today. LMC Consultancy has got a plethora of services, and one of them is what we're going through right now, which is a Tuesday Talks at 3, which is fashioned around personal development, how to improve self, to learn lessons from others. And towards this, we always have guests on our show to share their stories with us. And they always give us takeaways. And these are takeaways that we can relate. And once we're able to relate with these takeaways, we're able to apply them. So personal development. We also have our life coaching sessions. It's group life coaching. And you may ask, why group life coaching? It's personal. I don't want anybody else in my space. Well, I suggest to you that a community and a support of the community comes a long way in helping you understand where you're at and how to be able to internalize and work out the challenges in your life. So the coaching is all about seeking clarity, finding clarity. So if you will, just consider yourself in a group of people. And with this group of people, you are discussing issues. And these are issues that affect all of us at different stages. So there could be somebody in the group who has already walked that path, who will hold your hand and give you an insight, clarity. It could be you who has walked ahead of somebody else and you're giving them clarity. So come on and join us in these group life sessions and be able to help build one another. On the other end, you might be asking, what about if I'm an extrovert and I cannot speak in these sessions? Well, you have the option to keep quiet and listen to what is going on around you and just pick up on the tidbits that are around you. And I promise you, you will walk out even better than you came into the session. We have our one-on-one activities when it comes to life coaching. It works around the same way. And you may ask, why do I need a life coach? Well, a life coach is an accountability partner. In so saying, a life coach asks questions, is able to help you delve deeper into self, to understand where you're at, where you want to be, and the actions and goals that you need to do. Now, once you set those goals, we become your accountability partner. We are not counselors, and neither are we mentors. We are your accountability partner. We hold your hand, we guide you, we help you achieve clarity. And the great thing is we also give you tools that you can apply whenever this cycle comes back. And they are great tools that life coaches like myself help you with. But then again, you might ask, life coach, what do you know about life, Lucy? What makes you an expert? Well, let me give you a little story about myself. 30 years plus in the hospitality industry. And I had it all. I knew what my purpose was. I knew what my journey was. I knew my potential. I had arrived in the hospitality industry. I was fulfilled. Then COVID happened. And it happened to everybody. And COVID made me take a step back. Because in the hospitality industry, everything came to a standstill. Nobody was traveling. Nobody was going to restaurants. All these extracurricular activities, recreational activities, it wasn't happening. And as a result, we had nowhere to go to but to just stay at home. And as we stayed at home, you started to have your own introspection. And introspection can be hard when you have to face the truth about yourself. My identity had been all around the hospitality industry. And as a result, I felt that it was threatened. It was threatened in such a way that I didn't know who I was anymore. Or so I thought. So I had to go back and recalibrate. I had to re-strategize. I had to rethink, who is Lucy? What does she want? Where does she want to go? And what does she need to do to get there? And then this all gave birth to Awakening Self, which is a program that I am running. Because what I realized is that my purpose remained intact. And my purpose is to help build one another. I went further. Specifically, I was targeting women. So this is what I know about life. It's the life that I have led. And this is what makes me an expert, because I can share with you my life experiences. This is the journey that I have taken. So I realized that the journey now was not a straight path as it was before. I had to find a different way to get to my destination. And I loved it. My potential was all out there, but Awakening Self has just brought it right back. And now I am centered. I am intentional. I'm telling you right now, this is what I love to share with you out there. So if you're listening to this Tuesday Talks at 3, take a moment and just visit our website, visit our Facebook, visit our Instagram, and talk to us. And we'll be able to reach out to you and see which kind of catalog you will pick up to help you gain clarity. Now, if you're a teenager, I have Lady in Waiting series. And with the Lady in Waiting series, we take you through a season of just making sure that you can transition gracefully into society. Social media etiquette, social etiquette, dining etiquette, work etiquette, core values. These are the things that we bring to the table and we discuss openly. It takes 6 sessions, at most 2 hours a session. And when you come out of those sessions, you are ready to transition into the society. So these are the things that make me an expert in the industry. And I'd love for you to have the opportunity to join me on Tuesday Talks at 3 or on my different platforms. But enough said about me. This is a month of love, and that's what we are here for. And today, we are being hosted by Westwood Hotel. Westwood is part of the Superior Hotels Kenya. They've got 6 hotels in Kenya, 3 of them in Naivasha and 3 of them here in Nairobi. And if you've never heard of them, there's the Lake Naivasha Resort, there's the Masada Hotel, and then there is a Sweet Lake Hotel. Those are the 3 that are in Naivasha. And here in Nairobi, we've got the Pearl Hotel, the Hadassah, and the one that we're sitting in right now. And as we're sitting here at Westwood Hotel, they've got special offers this Valentine's. But I get ahead of myself. I would love to introduce my guest. And as I introduce my guests, I reiterate that last time we talked about self-love. And we realized the importance of loving self. You see, if you don't know about self, if you do not love self, how do you expect other people to love you? How do you come out and present yourself? Because actually you show people how to treat you. So self-love was amazing, and we had an amazing session. Today, we are talking about the loss of love. We've taken it a notch down. And the reason we get to this point is that there are people who have lost a loved one. And this is the month of love that everybody is talking about, and they're supposed to go about their lives like everything is okay. My guest today is going to talk to us about grieving and about loss. And we're going to bring this into context so that we can see how we can love again, how we can celebrate Valentine's, so that we can know that we are alive and that we matter and that self-love is true. And today here at Westwood, we do know and we do feel the love that people are sharing. And as they prepare for Valentine's, and we are going to share that with you in a moment, they are so open to all your phone calls coming in. And I will also be sharing with you details where you can contact them directly to make any bookings. So once again, welcome. And like I said, the month of February is a month of love. And today, we are talking about grief and loss. And I'd like to invite my guest now, by way of introduction. Her name is Roseanne Katunge. And Roseanne is here today to give her own version about grief and loss. And for those of you who have suffered grief and loss, you will be able to relate to her story. Just have as I have also related to her story because I have been through grief and loss. And it is so sobering to be able to have somebody come on the show today and tell us about it. So I welcome Roseanne Katunge, my guest. Roseanne,
Yes.
karibu sana.
Asante sana. Thank you so much, Lucy, for having me.
You're most welcome.
Yes.
So Roseanne, you are the founder of Rozana's Lounge.
Yes, I am.
Why Rozana's Lounge?
Why Rozana's Lounge? It was born out of the fact that I came to realize that people don't talk about grief. Yeah. So I formed this lounge where it's a safe space where now we speak openly about grief, about our pains, what we go through, so that and in the process we are not judged. You discover that when you lose somebody, you have nobody to talk to. Most people want to fix you. They want to judge you. So with Rozana's Lounge, here it's an open place where it's safe. So we meet there, we talk openly about our losses.
I love that. I love the fact that you've given it a picture because we need to be able to feel that we can relate to this space. So because I wondered lounge, grief, how was that connection? So now you've explained. It's a place where we can come and speak and have a safe place and not to be judged. And not to be judged. Okay, why would somebody judge me if I'm grieving?
In our culture right now, we fear pain. Now, because we fear pain, if I'm grieving, of course I'll be sad, I'll be in pain.
Yeah.
Now, you do not want to see me sad or in pain. So what do? You want to fix me to be back to being a happy person. So I feel judged. You are not honoring my grief. I feel, no, you don't understand. So what happens? I walk away from you. I do not talk to you about it. So I grieve inwardly. And grieving inwardly is not a good thing. So when you get a safe place where people understand each other, where we don't judge, if you want to cry, you want to scream, you want to shout, we allow it. So you release the pain.
Okay.
Yes. So judgment, you will get out there. But people have gone through it, they will actually not judge you because they've gone through it too. They know.
I love that. And the fact that now we are encouraging these kind of spaces online. You see, because a lounge can be anywhere now. It doesn't necessarily have to be a physical space like we are in right now. It can be online, a virtual space.
Zoom, yes.
Well, in my case, I have found, as I'm doing Tuesday Talks at 3, and today, in fact, thank you so much. Because of you, we are actually premiering our first pre-recorded session.
I feel honored.
Thank you so much, because today we're doing something different. And the reason we're doing something different is because I like to advocate for personal development. And personal development means you start somewhere and you're moving. There's progression.
Yes.
And I have moved. I have come a long way since, like, you hear the story of COVID happening and what it did to me in the hospitality industry. And I had to rethink where I was coming from. And I started off with small steps. I mean, there was a time just looking into the camera scared me. And today I'm here, I'm looking in one camera, I'm looking in another camera, and I'm okay. And that is because I'm celebrating my small successes. And that is how we need to celebrate them. And therefore, today, I'm already celebrating in advance that we are having this session, which is our part 1 session of grief and loss, with you. And you're going to be taking us through this in part 1 and then in part 2. And the fact that we're going to have it, it's already being recorded now, and we're going to put it on Facebook Live. That'll be another thing we're going to do. And get comments and engagement from our audience. Yeah. So thank you so much for doing this with me.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for doing this with me. So let's go back to that safe space. And that is a space of Zoom and what Zoom has provided for us. And let's just talk about grief. Now, if we're talking about grieving and we are in a space like Zoom, and I'm only asking this question because from a point of grieving, there's touch. There's touch. And COVID has taken us to another level where there's no more touch. Or there is, but it is under some very restricted conditions. So you are taking me through a session on Zoom, Roseanne. Okay, I'm trying to understand this.
It's challenging.
It is, eh?
It is so challenging. It's new to us.
Yes.
Like, it's new to me.
Yeah.
Because with grief, you want somebody close to you, somebody to hold you, so that you're able to cry and release. Now, here's a case where we can't touch.
Yes. Yes.
So anyway, we are learning that wherever you are, even in your home, even when we are having Zoom, we allow you to cry. We allow you to actually remove all your feelings, feel whatever it is you want openly in your space.
Yes.
So even in Zoom, there's going to be safe space.
Okay.
Yes.
It is a safe space.
It is, yes. You choose where you'll be, zooming from. Then we can easily now do what? You can easily be open with yourself and, express yourself willingly and openly. So it's different, yes, but it has to happen.
Wow.
Yes, it's a
because
challenge.
when I think of it, there are days when I've had technical challenges. So, there was even a time when I was doing a training, and because I had a live training session going on, I was showing my PowerPoint presentation. Now, if you understand how Zoom works, when the PowerPoint is going on and you're on full screen, you don't actually have an image of all the participants unless you particularly have it on your screen. But I like to have a full screen.
Yes.
And it's showing that I'm showing my screen, sharing my screen. And then I asked a question because of engagement, and I realized I was alone. I was alone on Zoom.
Yes.
Because technically what had happened is that the system, I had first been, my internet connectivity was kind of wavering. So yes, so I kind of kept quiet for a moment. Then it comes on the screen, your internet is unstable. Then I knew, okay. So I repeated a little bit. But then I realized there was nobody else. So here is a scenario that I am grieving, and I have come to Rozana's lounge, and my connectivity is happening. I'm not in control of it. And it kind of wavers. What happens in a situation like that? I could have been in the middle of expressing myself. How do you not literally, but how do you virtually hold my hand?
Yeah, it's tricky, but we reconnect again.
Yes.
And of course, you will realize that you had gone at a high, as in you're grieving, then suddenly you are all alone. But once we reconnect, we can, assure you that all is well. Then you start all over again, and you release the pain, because you need to release the pain. You need to talk it out.
Well, I think the silver lining here is that I start from scratch.
You do start.
Because in my limited experience with grief, I lost my father 30 years ago. And then I lost my brother about 28, 27 years ago. So that is my stake in grief. That is what I knew. And I was a young girl at that time. And it was hard. It was really hard. And we got to talking about it. But to this day, I still speak of them as if they're just round the corner.
Yes.
So you asking someone to repeat in the session is a good thing, because now they're speaking it out. And maybe when they first spoke the first time, they were getting all choked up, and now there's more clarity as they're speaking out. So as we speak about grief, there's an assumption that everybody knows what we're talking about. So maybe you could tell us, what is grief?
Okay, yes. I know most people, when they hear about grief, it's equals to death of a loved one. Automatically.
Yes.
But now grief is actually, it's what we go through or what we experience anytime and every other time when we lose someone, yes, or something. Could be a pet, could be a job, could be a livelihood. When you lose that, as long as you are a human being, you're alive, there's an attachment.
Okay.
And that attachment forms a bond. That bond is love.
Yes.
So as long as there's a loss of love, there's going to be grieving. So grief and love are this one and the same thing. Yes. So it is very good to discuss about grieving during this month of love. Because yes, you've lost somebody you love.
Yeah.
So you are bound to grieve.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So even another thing that most people don't realize is a phone.
Yes.
If you lose your phone, remember you are attached to this phone. you will
Yes.
grieve.
Yes,
So
it's so
don't
true.
imagine that's not grieving.
You're so right.
Yes, that's grieving.
We're calling it purging. When the phone is not around you, we are purging. But it is grieving.
It is.
Yeah?
It is. Because this is something you are attached to. It doesn't have to be a human being. It can even be that phone. It can even
It
be
can
this
be
pencil.
an object.
Yes.
It was
What
the
is
interaction with this
Yes.
object.
What's my relationship with this object? It means a lot, so much to me.
Yes.
Probably the phone had all these numbers of people who mattered so much to you. Or some information that you hold so dear to you.
Yes.
It got lost.
Yes.
What happens? You will grieve.
Yeah.
And nobody
Yeah.
should let you stop grieving. You need to grieve for that phone.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So that's what grief is.
Wow. Okay. Well, that throws another span of works into it, because if you are now saying to me that grieving is more than just of a loved one.
Yes.
Okay, let me just back up. With a loved one, I have lived a life. Maybe a lifetime, but I've lived a life. I am identified. And let me say this differently. In my identity, this person is added in to complete me, so to speak.
Yes.
Now, for instance, the loss of my father. I wouldn't be if it were not for him and my mother. My mother is still alive. My father is gone. So how do I start talking to people about my parents? I refer to him now as he's passed on. And now he's been passed on so many years. Because of my father, I had this identity. I am the daughter of, maybe I resemble his mother. Maybe I have his habits. These are things I can relate. Now you're telling me an object.
Yes.
My phone.
Yes.
I hear you. I had not thought about that. I'm just imagining that if I lost my phone today, lost it, and how I would go nuts. My phone is permanently on silent. So at times I don't know where it is and I can't call it because it's on silent.
Yes.
And those moments, they scare me. They scare me because information...
What are you feeling?
Yeah, exactly.
That's grief.
Is that grief?
That's grief.
Okay, so how do I deal with it? Not to belittle the grief from a lost person, from the loss of a person, but this object, how do I then...
It's the same grief. We don't know what attachment you had with that. I may have lost a person, you may have lost a phone. We are both grieving. There is no grief that is bigger than the other. What I like saying is, your grief is your grief. It's yours. We have this mentality of imagining, because I lost a person and you've lost maybe a pet or your phone, yours is less significant than mine. No, your grief is your grief. Yes. The relationship you had with your phone, I don't know. It's so great, it's like maybe even a person. Yes. So you need to grieve. You need to go through the process.
Wow, that's an aha moment for me right there, that this object can actually be the object of grief, so to speak,
Yes, it is.
in my life. And I need to take a moment and honor it.
You must honor it. Yes, the phone, you replace it. It's not like a human being. You won't replace a human being. But you must go through the process. Grieve. Yeah.
Wow.
Whatever you're feeling is very valid. Don't think it was just an object after all. No. Let nobody tell you that. No. Go through the process.
Go through the process.
And emotions. Accept.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I have to tell you this funny story. I am attached to my things in my kitchen, because now you're telling me this story, I'm thinking, whoa, I should have grieved. Maybe I did and I didn't realize it. I'm attached to things in my kitchen, and my family will tell you this. So that if it breaks, hey, it has broken.
Yes.
Do you know where I got it from? Do you know this is, for instance, a cup? I had a set of 4 cups that I got as a gift from my brother-in-law. And then one cup broke. I made a whole issue about it, of what that breaking of that cup meant. And my family was looking at me like, seriously? It's a cup.
They need it.
But you see, for me, it was more than a cup.
Exactly.
It was more than a set. It was how it came to me. It had a sentimental value to it. Yes, it was durable and convenient for me. It's what I reached out for every time I wanted my cup of tea. Now, what do I reach out for? My tea in my mind would never be the same again. I mean, now it's years later and I have another cup. Whoa, and behold, if this thing was to break today,
Yes.
now I know that I have an attachment to my things and that loss of them is grieving,
Yes.
and I need to respect and honor the process.
Those feelings, don't overlook them.
What happens if I do not honor that process of grieving?
You see, now when you don't go through the process of grieving, and grief must be grieved, you have to grieve come what may. You will internalize it, and it could affect you. Yeah. As I'll tell my story later, you'll notice that I didn't grieve. So I kept everything to myself. And in the process, I blocked like half my life. I totally blocked it, such that I have no memory of so many things I did. So it comes to haunt you. Yes. So it's necessary, and it is a good thing we talk about it.
Yes.
So that people realize that grieving is necessary. It is key. You must grieve to heal. You have to feel the pain.
Wow.
Yes, and acknowledge that pain. And people around you need to acknowledge. So your family needed to have acknowledged the fact that there was that attachment to your cup, and accepted and allowed you to go through the motions. Yes. You replace it, but you needed to go through that motion.
You know why I'm asking that question? What happens if you do not go through the motion or the process? Is and again, I say this very strongly. I'm not belittling the loss of a loved one, but for me, it happened so many years ago, and I'm not sure whether I ever grieved, or maybe now after our discussion, I'll be able to know the touch points and any triggers that happen in my life. No, why I'm asking this is because now as I talk about it and the things that I have an attachment to, when I lose them, when they are broken, first of all, when I have them, I guard them jealously. So you can imagine now when it gets lost, what happens. And I cannot replace it. I mean, this cup, I will never forget it. There was no way I could get another cup like that one to replace. However, what I realized, and this is why I ask you what happens if you do not go through the process, is I began to speak in a very aggressive manner. I started acting out. And to the point where my family was saying, it's just a cup. And this was me dealing with my loss. You don't get it. So why don't you just take the other cup? It's not the same. What do you mean it's not the same? It's a cup. It's going to carry your tea, you know? But if this is what happens with a cup, what then does the human mind do when you lose a loved one? And now more and more we have pets, and the pets are really taking up the space in our homes and replacing the humans in our homes. We have a relationship, literally attachment to this pet. More and more it's happening. More and more it's happening. So that is why I ask you this question. What happens if you don't go through the process of grieving? I don't know if there's anything else you could add to it that would show us the seriousness of it.
You could have a mental breakdown. As in, it's that serious.
Yeah.
You could even sit back and decide, I don't need life anymore. You commit suicide. You see, you are acting up. You are so aggressive. And that's not like you. But it needed to get out. So if you are not allowed to grieve, you are people minimize. It's called minimizing what you're feeling. It affects you. You are thinking, why don't they feel the way I'm feeling? So in the process, you decide you won't talk about it. How do you remove all that? Now you might decide to go mental, or even hang yourself, and So
we can have mental instability. We can
definitely
suicide, depression.
Depression. Depression.
Wow. Oh, well, you've heard it there. If we don't grieve, if we don't go through the process, this can actually work negatively. It can work against you in the end. So you want to be able to identify that you are grieving, and there is a process that you have to go through. Why is it a taboo subject? And I ask this because you started off by telling us, that people don't talk about it. People don't talk about
They
grief.
don't.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think this is? And maybe you may come back and say it's culture. But in culture, we talked about it. In culture, in the villages, when there was death, it was dealt with. Why are we not talking about grief? Why is it a taboo?
It's very strange because as long as, Lucy, you've been born, you will definitely die.
Yes.
Definitely. There's no two way about it.
Yes.
So it is a subject that you expect people to actually talk about.
Yes.
We talk about the weather. We've been talking about this weather.
Yes.
We talk about our pets.
Yes.
We talk about sex.
Yes.
But we do not openly talk about death. Why? There's fear.
Fear.
Fear of the unknown.
Mm.
Do we know when you die where you're going? We don't. We assume if I don't talk about it, it will not happen to me. There's that
Wow.
belief, by the way.
Oh, wow. I can relate because somebody once told me that they will not write a will because the minute they write a will,
They
they're
may die.
signing their death certificate. And my answer to him was very simple.
Yes.
You're not getting out alive, my friend. You're going to die, you know? So it's just not today,
Yes.
but it will happen.
Yes.
So writing your will is actually protecting your loved ones.
True.
It is. Anyway, so go ahead. Yes.
Yes. So now nobody wants to talk about death. We fear what will happen. So we don't talk about it. So the minute you hear Roseanne has lost her husband, you imagine if I go talk to her about it, my husband will die. Or I will die.
This is where the fear is coming from.
Yes, it might get to me. So the best thing is I don't talk about it.
Mm.
So nobody will come to you and talk about it. So there's that fear of the unknown. Then secondly, if you've realized, nobody ever comes and tells you it's okay to grieve. If you go to a funeral, let's say you see your loved one there in the funeral, how do people cry? Like this. Hiding, like it's bad to cry. We've been made to realize that you cannot cry openly because you don't talk about grief. So why would you cry openly? So you hide, you mask it. Yeah?
It's taboo.
So there's that taboo. Yeah?
Oh, wow.
Because we feel like grief is very messy. So the best thing is hide away from it. Don't allow us to see you crying. Don't allow us to see the pain in you. So you see, you are grieving, but you have to do it hiding.
Wow.
Another thing why we don't talk about it is, now when you're grieving, I don't know what to come and tell you. Do I come and tell you sorry? Do I tell you? What do I tell you? So we avoid to talk about it.
Yes.
And do you know one thing a grieving person wants? They want you to come and talk about that grief. If it's my husband, and you knew my husband, and he was called Patrick, you come and tell me, I knew Patrick. Let's talk about it. Yes, I will cry, I will feel the pain, but I want you to talk to me about it.
Really?
But we don't do that because we don't know what to say.
Yes.
So we are all scared. So when we see you, we hide away from you.
Yes.
We run away, literally run away from you.
Yes.
Because you don't know what to say.
Wow.
And that is why it's a taboo. Because I'll know Lucy has lost her husband. But when I come across you, you will find me hiding.
Yes.
And taking the next corner.
Yes.
Why? When I face you, what do I tell you? You're in so much pain. What do I tell you? I don't know. And I can't face you.
It's the fear.
That fear.
It's the fear. Well, I guess with you telling us this now, and for anybody else who's listening, we want to change our narrative.
We do.
We want to be able, especially in this time, this month of love. Because just the other day I was walking into a shopping mall and there were all these balloons already hanging. There were these lovely tapings
Everything
of
in
red, beautiful carpet, and already people setting out gifts and giving special offers. And I've always felt that it is so commercialized because my belief is that love should be there 24/7, 365 days in a year. But now we have a reason on one day, February the 14th, to talk about love, you know? So it's there. It's our reality of today.
Yes.
However, we should always strive to do this every day. And that's why self-love was a deep topic for me. Because if you do not love self, how do you start to present
To
yourself
love
for
others.
somebody else? Yeah, love others and also show them how to love you So that people are not walking over you. You know, basically you are able to come out and you can be honored when it is self-love, when it comes to that. However, just walking into that shopping mall and seeing that, my heart then went out to those who have lost their loved ones. So if I have lost a loved one, in many ways, you know, it could be perhaps Valentine's Day is the day that I was proposed to. Maybe Valentine's Day is a death anniversary. Maybe that 14th of February is so loaded, and here's the whole world talking about it, and I'm supposed to be okay, and I'm withdrawing, and people are like, she's always in this terrible mood, and nobody's finding out why. And so I really felt that this was the best time to talk about grieving the loss of love. Because if we do not become aware that the love that we share today could be gone tomorrow, could be easily gone tomorrow, what do I need to do today so that when that love goes, the memories are the
hold on
ones.
to those memories.
Exactly. The memories are the ones that I hold on to. And in fact, my messages usually, when I'm reaching out to somebody who has lost a loved one, is I say, hold on to the memories. Speak to them. And just doing a bit of research on this topic for this session today, it brought it back to mind about losing my father and my brother. And then I remembered the funerals and all the times when we were hanging around. That time there was no social distancing. So we were all in each other's spaces. There was a lot of laughter. There was a lot of song. My father loved to sing and he loved to tell funny stories. My brother was our joke. So we were busy laughing and sharing stories and remembering songs and remembering, you know, a shame on you story when he caught you and he did this and he embarrassed you doing something. And that was a celebration for us. And even as we celebrate that time, I realized, it came to me only now, that there were other people who frowned upon the way we carried out the funeral of my father and my brother. But I didn't know how to do it any other way, and I guess neither did my family, my mother. I've never asked them this question. We were just in the same space at the same time celebrating.
You are honoring.
So today when I see a lot of celebrating the life, I'm thinking,
That's what you are
finally
doing.
we have come full circle. But I didn't realize. I was left with a bad feeling. I had been judged with the way that I celebrated my father and my brother.
Let me mention something. Grief is very personalized, and you can grieve in whatever way and whichever manner. And nobody should actually judge you.
Yes.
It's very personalized.
Yes.
Yes, and that's why you were able to do what you did, and people had question marks.
Yes.
They thought you're supposed to grieve in a certain way.
Yeah.
There's no way. No. You can grieve whichever way as long as you are okay with it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's a takeaway for all of us. We can grieve in whichever way as long as we are grieving.
Yes.
We need to be grieving. We should not be bottling it up because, like you say, it is going to come out.
It is going
We
to
can't keep it hidden.
Yes.
Well, the one thing that I learned is the memories, and the memories were beautiful. And to this day, we still have these memories, and we still speak about them. And I mean, it's very cheeky of me what I did. I met a lady the other day, and she said to me, "Oh, you know, I knew your brother, and I really loved your brother." I told her, "Stop. Did you have a child with my brother?" You know, and it was really cheeky of me, and it took her off context. So she was like, "What?" And she said, "Why would you ask me such a question?" I said, "You know, then it was taboo. Today, I would actually be having a niece or a nephew.
Yes.
This child would be so welcomed in our home, you know, and all that would be out of something of grieving, something to celebrate." And we sat there with this lady, and we relived my brother's life, and it was beautiful. It was really beautiful. So if you were to ask me whether I grieved my father and my brother, I don't know.
You did.
I don't know whether I did. I really don't know.
From what I can gather, you did.
I did.
Yes.
I chose to celebrate them.
You did, yes. And mentioning their names all the time and talking about them.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. And this was me every time I would go home. I'd go to the grave and stand and have a discussion with them. I remember when I was getting married, my father had just passed away about a year or 2 years, and I stood on my grave and I had a conversation with him. I said, "You know, this is when you chose to go out." You should have waited.
Yes.
So that you can see this day. And my brother also, I was teasing him, in his death, I was teasing him. And this is me. And to this day, every time I go home, that's what I do. I go and I have conversations with him. I also know that when I have successes in my life, I remember them. It's so uncanny. It's weird, but I remember them, and I'm like, hey, did you see that? It must be you whispering in God's ear for me.
Yes.
And then also when I'm going through a bad time, I remember them, and I say, remember me with prayers, and just remember me, remember my family, and yeah,
That's how you honor them. They
Exactly.
will forever live with you and in you. You cannot separate the two.
I love it. I just
Yes.
love the fact that she's bringing out all these truths about grieving, and it's really helping me to understand the process. So I do hope it's helping you out there. And as we continue, because we're coming almost to the end of our hour, what are the basic truths about grief? What are those?
Okay, now the basic truth is you need to realize that grief is normal. In our talk, you've realized you need to grieve.
Yes.
As long as you love, you lose a love, and you will grieve.
Yes.
So it is normal. Yeah. So you need
Grief is normal.
grief is normal.
It's normal.
There's nothing. It's not a disease.
Yeah. We are born, we shall die.
Yes.
It is normal.
It is normal. You're a human being. You get attached. You love. And grief is the loss of a love.
Yes.
It's what you go through when you lose
Yes.
the loved one.
Yes.
So grief is normal.
Yeah.
Nobody should tell you cannot grieve
Yeah.
because that is normal.
So that is a basic truth.
That's
It is.
a basic
Truth. It is normal. And
I was never
and-
told that.
Oh,
So
you were never told that.
that grief is normal. I was made to believe you get over it and
Yeah.
you move on.
Person has died and move on.
Yes. So grief, I need to really emphasize that grief is normal. What you feel after you lose someone or something, those feelings, they are valid. Go through
Okay.
them. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right. So grief is normal.
Grief is
Okay.
normal.
All right.
Secondly, the worst kind of grief is your grief, as I'd said. Yeah? Whether you're losing the phone. Okay, what I have is most people come and ask me, is it worse to lose a spouse or a child? You can't compare.
I was gonna say that you can't compare.
You cannot compare. Or somebody comes and tells me that my grief is more significant than yours. You can't compare grief. Yes, my grief is my grief, and it is worse. Because at that point, I've lost somebody, or lost something, and I am in a process of grieving. So nobody can come to minimize what I'm feeling.
So my grief is my grief.
Yes. The worst grief is yours.
The worst grief is
yours.
mine.
So you can't tell me because you lost a sister and I've lost
A mother.
an auntie.
Yeah.
Because it's an auntie and yours is a sister, it's a sibling, yours is worse than mine. No. The worst grief is yours at that point in time, whatever you're going through.
Okay.
That's a
Okay.
that's
So grief
one.
is normal.
Yes.
And the worst grief is yours. It's what you're going through.
Yes.
Okay.
Then grief is life changing. And you know what change does to you, to you? When you hear about change, you don't want to change. But grief changes you. Whether
It
you
does.
like it or not,
It does.
it changes you.
Yeah.
So you have to change with it.
Yeah.
Because you have to look for a new normal. You have to know how you're going to live without this person, or without this item, or without maybe the loss of livelihood. You have to get a new normal. Yes.
And I must tell you about the loss of my livelihood when we come for part 2, because I didn't realize at that point that I was grieving. But that's a story for when we come back in part 2. So I like that. So grief is normal.
Yes.
The worst grief is your grief.
It's your grief.
Huh? And the third one?
The third one is now life changing. Grief is life changing.
Grief is life changing.
Yes, and the fourth one now is there are no timelines to grieving. You've mentioned to me that you lost your dad 30 years ago.
Yes.
Don't think you'll ever get over it. You can
Yes.
never get over your dad.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
There's no timelines. As in, because I'm grieving, I just lost let's say my husband yesterday, and you lost your dad 30 years ago, there's a difference. No, there's no timelines.
There's no timelines.
No timelines, because grief is forever. You will grieve forever. Of course, the impact and the the impact will be less as you move on.
Okay.
You'll be able to talk about it willingly and
Yes.
freely and happily.
Yes.
Unlike
Yeah.
who, when I think about probably my husband, I will cry, I will tear up and all that. But as time moves on, it will be easier. My love for the person will grow more than the pain.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a nice one. The love of the
love
person
grows more
than the pain.
than pain. Yes.
Yeah, because the grieving never ends. Or
It can never end.
It's
it
not
will never go.
It will never go.
It can never
it's
go.
always there.
But now the love, you will talk more about the love. You will remember, those good memories, sweet memories.
Yes,
You will
so
remember
true.
them
Yes, so
more
true.
than the pain.
Ah.
But at this point, if I've just lost somebody, the pain will be more than the love. So there's no timelines. Nobody should tell you, you've been grieving for 1 year now, get over it and move on.
Yeah.
No. Unfortunately, the society looks at it this way. The minute you bury the person, it's over. Move on.
Yes.
Yes, but it shouldn't be.
Yes. Yep. And we are all guilty of that. You know, person is buried and we move on.
Go back to your lives.
We go back to our lives.
And forget the person who's grieving.
Yeah.
You totally forget about that person.
This is so true.
And I keep saying,
this is so true, Roseanne.
The best time to keep close to that person is not when the person has died and before the funeral, because that's the time everybody's around you.
Yes.
It should be after. You see, after the person has been buried and you've buried the person, now you have to look for ways to live. You have to get your new normal. But now everybody has left you. They're going back to their normal lives and they're happy and you're looking at them and you're thinking.
So this is the best time now to go to them when they're alone.
Keep in touch with that person at this point in time. That's when they need you most. Not when the person has just died. Because that time they're busy. Let me tell you, that time they're so busy trying to make arrangements for the funeral, trying to probably do so many other things, sort out if it was a will. There are a lot of things you need to sort out before. The minute you bury the person, thereafter is when the person needs you. But we all disappear.
We all do.
We all disappear. And we expect the person to
By the way, we all do. Yeah. You expect the person to move on.
Yes. We've buried the person. So what next? Move on with your life. Be happy again. It's not possible.
Wow. Oh, that is deep. That is deep. That is so deep. But then how do you celebrate love then in this month of Valentine's? Because whether we like it or not, Roseanne, I mean, look at the roses on the table.
Yes.
How do we then celebrate love when we have lost love?
You can't celebrate love.
How? I'm feeling so heavy right now, you know?
Really? No, the way you told me about the memories
Yes.
of your loved one,
Yes.
go back. If during now this time, as I walk around, I'm seeing a lot of red. Everything is red. Everything is reminding me that there's love in the air, togetherness.
Yes.
And here I am, all alone.
Yes.
I'm alone. But what I can do, because it's about love,
Yes.
and grieving is also about love,
Yes.
is I can, if I have a graveside to go, as you do, take flowers. Talk to your loved one. That is also showing love. You will come to have peace actually doing that. So go to the graveside, put some flowers, have a chat with your loved one. That's how you celebrate love. Secondly, you can how do you celebrate love? Treat yourself. Be your own Valentine. Who said you cannot be?
But then when I come
self-love.
When I walk into a restaurant, I'm on my own on Valentine's night. People will be looking at me like, are you lost?
If it will bring bad memories, don't do what. Just be kind to yourself. I keep saying, be kind to yourself. Do what you think is right. If you're okay walking into a restaurant, sitting there and serving yourself all this good food alone, no problem. Or get somebody, a sister or brother or neighbor who has also lost somebody. Invite them.
I love that one.
The two of you can sit there and love each other.
Yes, celebrate
that love. Yeah?
Because Roseanne, right now, there are lots of things happening because of COVID, and like I alluded to, there's no touch.
Yes.
And touch does so much.
A lot.
The human being, once they're using their senses of touch, it does so much. It heals so much. But now we're not touching anymore. And therefore, if we can reach out to somebody else,
you will also heal.
Yes.
And you will heal somebody.
So true.
Yes.
A selfless act there. And you don't necessarily have to have been the one who has lost anybody. But you can reach out to somebody. Be empathetic. think outside your own little bubble
Yes.
of your love and how you're having such a good time.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. I love that. I love reaching out to somebody else and just
Reaching
come so
out.
that we can celebrate together.
Exactly. You'll be surprised what you will do to the other party.
Oh.
You'll be so surprised because they're going through the same, and you understand what they're going through. Now, if you even bought them flowers or even chocolates or whatever, and also invite them out, you'll be surprised what joy you bring into this person's life.
Well, look at that. I'm already smiling. I'm already just thinking about. So there you've heard it from Roseanne as we are coming to the end of the hour, talking about grief. This is part 1. I mean, we're going to go into part 2 immediately after this, but just I love the takeaways that she has given us. And you know, when she says that there are no timelines for grief, she's serious, man. I'm talking about the death of my father and the death of my brother. And today I still speak about them. So what is your grief story? And if you do have a grief story, what are you going to do today to touch somebody else because you know what you went through? And if you do not have a grief story, who around you is experiencing grief, loss? And here we're talking specifically at this moment of February, the month of love. We're talking about loss of a loved one. Who do you know has lost somebody? And I'm sure you know so many people. You know, we're all so scared about COVID right now that anytime somebody passes away, say, was it COVID? You know, it doesn't matter what the person died from.
Yes.
The thing is, they died. They moved on. Their time here was done. But there are those people they left behind who are grieving. So there's your selfless act for February. Month of love. I love what she has said. Invite somebody over. Maybe you want to do your social distancing, but the fact that you called, you reached out already means so much. And here at Westwood, they have an amazing offer. They've got lunch or dinner that is going for 5,000 shillings. And you get a brilliant meal. I'm not going to spoil the surprise for you. You need to come on here and make your bookings and secure your table. It's an amazing hotel. It's 30 rooms. And they have a special offer for their rooms also. It's 12,000 shillings for a double on bed and breakfast. And you get your flowers and you get a cake. You get a cake so that you can celebrate Valentine's. So what is it that you're going to do? The weekend is already here. We're coming on to Friday, Saturday. This is it, guys. So whether you have your red outfit, whether you don't, you just make sure that in your heart, you have thought of somebody out there who is grieving. You have reached out to them and made a difference in their lives. And now, this is the end of our part 1. And shortly we'll be starting on our part 2 session. And here we'll be sharing our stories. Roseanne will tell us about her grief and her loss. And I'll be telling you about my loss too. And my loss is specifically socially what I lost. Because I lost a few jobs. And I did not know that I was grieving at that time. So until our next session, be kind to yourselves.